And this is another reason why so many traders stay stuck for years without realizing it. They are trading products and position sizes their nervous system was never ready for. Especially on NQ. NQ is addictive because it moves fast. Big candles. Fast reactions. Huge runners. Quick money. But the exact thing that attracts emotional traders to NQ is usually the same thing that destroys them. Because speed amplifies emotional mistakes. One impulsive click on NQ can wipe out an entire week of progress in seconds. And prop firms know this. That's why they'll happily let someone with a $2,500 drawdown trade 10 NQ contracts like they're a professional hedge fund trader. If you want to know how to completely stop revenge trading and being emotional on the charts, I made a book about it. Link in the description. Think about how insane that actually is. On a real cash account, no experienced trader with a functioning brain would treat leverage like that. But prop firms normalize absurd risk. So newer traders start thinking 10 NQ contracts is normal. No, it isn't. It's gambling. And this is where traders confuse buying power with skill. Just because the platform allows you to do something does not mean you should be doing it. A casino will also let you put your entire bank account on one blackjack hand. That doesn't mean it's intelligent. The problem is most traders are sizing based on greed instead of emotional stability. That's why ES is usually a much better instrument for developing consistency. It moves cleaner. More volume. Less violent. More forgiving psychologically. You don't need massive movement to make money on ES when sized correctly. But traders don't care about consistency at first. They care about excitement. They want the big runner. The huge payout screenshot. The dopamine. So naturally they gravitate toward NQ because it feels more exciting emotionally. But fast movement punishes emotional people. That's why slower and more structured traders often survive longer. And honestly, one of the most important things he said was this. Treat your prop firm account the same way you would treat a real cash account. Most traders completely fail at this. If you had your actual life savings in a real futures account, you would not be slamming 10 NQ contracts on random revenge setups after lunch session. You wouldn't. You'd suddenly become careful. Patient. Selective. Why? Because now the money feels real. That's the issue with prop firms psychologically. They disconnect traders from reality. The account starts feeling fake. The resets feel cheap. The consequences feel delayed. And that creates horrible habits. Blow account. Reset. Blow again. Reset again. No emotional pain. No accountability. No learning. Just repetition of destruction. That's why some traders blow 30 funded accounts and still think they're almost there. No. At that point your habits are deeply broken. And another thing most traders completely misunderstand is this idea that more trades equals more opportunity. Usually the opposite is true. The more trades you take, the worse your performance becomes. Because after your first few trades, your decisions stop becoming systematic and start becoming emotional. That's why experienced traders usually become extremely selective over time. They stop trying to catch every move. They start thinking, what is the cleanest setup available today? Not, how can I make the most money today? Big difference. And the same applies to market context. A trader with no structure just sees candles moving. A structured trader sees conditions. Range day. Trend day. Flat channel. Failed breakout. Second entry. Extreme off range. Trend continuation. That context matters more than indicators. Because without context, every setup looks valid. That's why beginners constantly overtrade. Every candle feels important to them. But experienced traders know most price action is noise. You only need one clean trade. Maybe two. That's it. The obsession with constant action is usually insecurity disguised as ambition. You feel like if you're not clicking buttons, you're missing out. But the irony is the traders who make the most money are usually the ones doing the least. Waiting. Observing. Passing on mediocre setups. Protecting emotional capital. And honestly, emotional capital matters just as much as financial capital. Because once your emotional state collapses, your decision-making collapses right after it. That's why one revenge trade often turns into 5 more. Your nervous system already got hijacked after the first emotional reaction. Everything after that is usually damage control mixed with ego. And this is why simplicity matters so much. One chart. One setup. One instrument. One session. The more complexity you add, the harder it becomes to execute calmly under pressure. Most traders don't need more information. They need less stimulation. That's the truth. You don't need 5 monitors. You don't need 20 indicators. You don't need 15 Discord screaming long here. You need clarity. Because clear traders execute better. And once you finally stop trying to force the market to pay you every single day, that's usually when your consistency finally starts showing up. A lot of traders think the solution to their inconsistency is switching from NQ to something slower like ES or gold. But the reality is, if you have anxiety issues while trading, the market itself usually isn't the core problem. Your relationship with risk is. NQ destroys people fast because the movement is violent. One candle can wipe out your confidence instantly. The speed, the volatility, the constant expansion and retracements, if your nervous system is already unstable, NQ exposes it immediately. That's why so many traders feel emotionally exhausted after trading it for just an hour. Your body stays in fight or flight the entire session. So naturally, traders move to ES thinking it's going to magically fix them. And yes, ES is cleaner. More volume, more structure, slower movement, less random spikes compared to NQ. But slower does not mean safe if your psychology is still broken. If you over-leverage ES, it becomes the exact same problem, just in slower motion. A trader with no self-control can still destroy a funded account on ES just as fast because the issue isn't the instrument, it's position sizing and emotional regulation. And honestly, gold is not much better either for anxious traders. A lot of people recommend gold because it moves clean, but gold can be brutal psychologically. The fake breakouts, sudden reversals, new spikes, manipulation around levels, gold punishes hesitation and emotional decision-making hard. 1 second you're up nicely, the next candle completely retraces the move and now your heart rate spikes and you start making emotional decisions. Gold especially destroys traders who stare at every tick. Because gold breathes aggressively. It expands hard, pulls back hard, then continues. If your stop placement and emotional control are weak, gold will constantly bait you into panic closing, revenge trading, or moving stops emotionally. That's why a lot of traders keep market hopping. NQ is too fast. Okay, I'll trade gold. Gold is too manipulated. Okay, I'll trade ES. ES is too slow. No. The common denominator is you. A regulated trader can make money on all 3. An emotional trader will find a way to lose on all 3. The real conversation should be about matching your nervous system to the instrument correctly. If you're anxious, asterisk trade smaller. Asterisk reduce leverage. Asterisk stop trying to make life-changing money in one session. Asterisk stop sizing for dopamine. Asterisk stop trading instruments you emotionally cannot handle yet. Most traders are trading products completely above their psychological skill level. That's the truth. A trader with a $2,000 account trying to swing 5 NQ contracts is like giving a beginner driver a Ferrari in the rain. The problem isn't the car. The problem is the driver cannot handle the speed yet. That's why ES is usually better for developing consistency. Not because it's magical, but because it gives your brain more time to think. More time to execute properly. More time to breathe. More time to manage risk like an adult instead of reacting emotionally every 3 seconds. But even then, if you're shaking while holding a trade, checking P&L every second, moving stops emotionally, or revenge trading after losses, you are still oversized. Period. The goal early on is not maximizing profit. The goal is building emotional stability under life pressure. Most traders completely skip that stage. They try to go straight from emotional beginner to full-time trader overnight. That's why they keep blowing accounts.